Hello, everyone. Dr. Victoria Scarbo here at the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. It's time to look at the Astrology and Kabbalah of March 2023. There's a lot of big changes coming this month, and we're going to go over some of them today. I'm going to do the Kabbalah, the numerology for the month, and then we're going to look at the first 2 weeks of March, from March 1st to March 11th, actually, the first 11 days of March. So let's get started because there's actually a lot to talk about. Okay, let's get it started. Let's get it started. Come on now. Here we go. All right. And hopefully you can see this because you can't really see me. Oh, there I am. All right, so we're looking at the astrology and the Kabbalah of March 2023. We'll start with the numbers. First of all, as a review, we are in a 7 universal year vibration connected to the Chariot card in the tarot. Throughout the ages in every religion, the 7 was a symbol of the ensouled living man. The Pythagoreans called this number the vehicle of life, since it contained body and soul. Body and soul. This from The Secret Science of Numerology by Shirley Blackwell Lawrence. Shirley Blackwell Lawrence. This is also the symbol of 7. So we'll see the symbols associated with these numbers as well. And of course, we're in March. So March is the 3rd month of the year. And so our monthly vibration is 3. And according to Shirley Blackwell Lawrence in The Secret Science of Numerology, man is a threefold creature, having spirit, mind, and body. Likewise, every system has a first, a middle, and a last part. So 3 was considered the first perfect number. Pythagoras called 3 the one in the many. 3 is the creative principle of the Godhead. And the symbol, of course, is the triangle. And the card associated with the number 3 is the Empress card, the path of creative imagination. So creative imagination could be our friends or our foes, depending on what we creatively imagine. And then if we add these 2 vibrations together, the monthly 3 and the universal year 7, we get a 10-1. The 10-1, to the Pythagoreans, 10 was the great number, symbolizing perfection, 1 being spirit, embodied in nature, which is 0. And we can see here that this was the symbol, the 0, and then nature. And this, of course, also indicates that nature is dual. We have a dual reality here, right? This coming, of course, from Shirley Blackwell Lawrence's book, The Secret Science of Numerology. And of course, the 10, as many of you know, is the Wheel of Fortune, the Wheel of Fortune card. So things are changing. Times they are a-changing. So let's take a look and see where these vibrations, where these numbers fall on the tree of life. I love birch trees. They're like one of my favorites. Actually, the birch tree is the first, I believe, is it the first tree in the Celtic alphabet? It's either the first or the second, but it is symbolic of birth, And the rune Berkana is birch. So if we look at the Sephira activated via the numbers 3, 7, and 10, we can see that we have Bina activated. Bina, or understanding, the 3rd path, is called the sanctifying intelligence. And its foundation of primordial wisdom, and it is the foundation of primordial wisdom, termed the creation of faith. It is the mother of faith, which indeed emanates therefrom. So we're going to need a little bit of faith this month, or a lot of bit of faith. 7 vibrates, is found in Netzach, the vibration of 7, right? All the 7s in the tarot are located here as well. This is associated with the planet Venus. This here is associated with Saturn. This is associated with Venus. Now Saturn is changing signs this month. Venus is also changing signs. I believe she's going from Aries to Taurus this month. So Venus is in a change cycle. Saturn is in a change cycle as Saturn moves from Aquarius into Pisces for the first time in like 30 years. And then we have the 10-1 vibration here, which is Malkuth. The 10-1 is associated with the earth, And so we're looking at the earth through the lens, this month at least, of Virgo and Libra. The earth is always opposite the sign of the sun. Malkuth, the 10th path, is called the resplendent intelligence because it is exalted above every head and has its seat in Bina. Bina again. It enlightens the fire of all lights and emanates the power of the principle of forms. Netzach, the 7th path, is called the hidden intelligence because it pours out a brilliant splendor on all intellectual virtues which are beheld with the eyes of the spirit and the ecstasy of faith. So we see that faith is here, Bina, and of course, with all the changes that will be happening, we'll be able to, by the end of this, you'll understand why this is important and why I think it's going to work for us. So if we look at this, if we look at the paths and their associated numbers and tarot cards, here we have the Chariot, and that path is right here. It's between Bina and Geburah. It is the first path on the pillar of severity. So this is the primordial mother. This is the mother. This is about gestation. Then this here is Mars. This is about cutting away the extraneous, but we'll talk about it as we go. The Chariot path that mediates between Bina, the divine feminine, and Geburah, the principle of destruction, is called the intelligence of the house of influence. In the physical body, we are here. We are the act, the actor, and the means of action. Remember, this path is activated all year through 2023. Now here we have the Empress path. That's right here. The Empress path is a path that mediates between Chokmah and Bina, divine masculine in Chokmah, divine feminine in Bina. It is known as the luminous intelligence, the expression of the one life or the one light in form manifested on the physical plane. This is the supernal triangle that's being activated. You can see that through the path of the Empress and through the path of the Chariot, we are connected to Bina in both situations. And then if we add these two vibrations together, the 7 and the 3, we get the 10. The 10 is the Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune is found here on the Tree of Life. It is the path that mediates between Hesed, the blue circle, universal principle of production, and Netzach, the green circle, the universal sphere of feeling and personality. This path is called the conciliating intelligence, in that that which balances emotions and evens out personality. Okay, this is the cyclicity of life, right? Sometimes we're at the top of the heap and sometimes we're at the bottom. Sometimes we're on our way up, sometimes we're on our way down, but it's always changing. The only thing that is constant is change, and that's what the Wheel of Fortune reminds us of. if we look at March 2023, we see that we have this path again being activated. It's associated with Jupiter, the planet Jupiter. I said this is called the conciliating intelligence. This path makes sure that nobody always wins and nobody always loses, really, that there is a balance between winning and losing, giving and receiving, yin and yang, like that constant cyclicity that we have. The Hebrew letter associated with this path is Kaf, K-A-P-H, I believe. And so we look at the planet Jupiter. We also have Hesed being associated with the planet Jupiter, and Netzach being associated with Venus. Jupiter is in Aries during this period of time in March, and Venus is in Aries and then in Taurus during March. Okay, so we do have Venus make a conjunction to Jupiter at 13 degrees of Aries. This happens on March 2nd. We also have, and I don't have it here, but I should, we have Jupiter conjunct Chiron on the 11th at 15 degrees of Aries. So that's important because that's about a 14-year cycle, and it's the start of a new cycle of expansion, of healing of the wounds, and the wounds is around Aries, and that can be the wounds of toxic masculinity, it could be the wounds of bullying, it could be the wounds of war, could be the wounds of abuse of power, it could be the wounds connected to guns and war and weapons. It can also be wounds around not feeling comfortable enough to be yourself, or your right to define yourself, or even your right to live, or your right to do what you want with your own body. All these issues come up with Chiron in the sign of the I Am. We also have Jupiter make a conjunction to Mercury on March 28th. This is another cycle. This is another synodic cycle. So in March, we have Jupiter start a synodic cycle with Venus, with Chiron, with Mercury. During this time, Venus is in Aries. Venus is in Aries from the 1st of March to the 16th, and Venus is in Taurus from the 16th to the 31st. Into, I believe, also in a little bit into April. The interesting thing is that Venus is the ruler of the North Node. Remember, the North Node is in Taurus. And so what sign Venus is in is going to have an influence on how that North Node is expressed. And it's in Aries at the beginning of the month and then Taurus at the end. So the beginning of the month for Aries, Venus in Aries is a little bit more, and for the North Node then, is a little more combative. When we get into Taurus, things sort of settle down and we sort of plant our feet. So we can get a little stubborn at that point. And then we also have happening, hold on one second. I can't actually read it myself because it's in the way. Excuse me. Venus conjunct Uranus at 17 degrees of Taurus on the almost last day of March. So we have a lot of cycles beginning, some with Jupiter, some with Venus, some with Jupiter and Venus. All right. Oops. Sorry about that. Let's continue, maybe. Where are we here? Okay, here we go. So if we look at this, we can look to see what chakras are also being activated through the stimulation of the numerical vibrations on the tree. So the 7 universal year vibration activates the third eye, Anja, to perceive or command, and the throat chakra, Vishuddha, which means purification. And we do that because the path is here. And so if the path is active, the two separate are active. And we have Baina sitting in the third eye, and we have Gabura sitting in the throat. The 3 month, and remember that this is the whole year, third eye, throat, third eye, throat. What do you see? What do you say? What do you say? What do you see? Right? The 3 month vibration activates the third eye chakra completely, because the path of the Empress here is fully in the third eye, connecting the divine masculine of Hokmah to the divine feminine of Baina. This is the path of creative imagination. Your creative imagination is very powerful at this time. And so imagine what you want to see instead of either what you're seeing in some cases or what people are telling you to see. Aja, the third eye chakra, means to perceive or command. It is in the third eye we're able to see pattern recognition. We're able to see intuitively, psychically, right? And then the 10-1 vibration of the March 2023 activates the throat chakra and the solar plexus. So we actually, through the 10-1 vibration, we're actually in our will chakra, our personal will chakra. So this is about not only listening, seeing, speaking, and acting. It is about getting our personal will met. Now, that being said, the path connects the place of divine will to the place of personal will. This path right here. So does this path. Okay. So these two paths, this is the 12-3 path of the Hanged Man, and this path, the 10-1, are both paths where divine will and personal will combine when they are activated, like they are here in this case, or in let's see, 2 months it'll be activated on this side. This is more about our personal will stepping aside so spirit can work through us. You know, when you're in the lower tree, or when you're on this path, which is a path of the tower, this is more, we have more control as individual egos, right? We can make decisions down here. We don't necessarily have to listen to the higher self, although it's usually a good idea. But here it's almost like we're there for the ride. So this month we're kind of there for the ride. We're going to want stuff. Spirit is going to work through us as a vehicle, and things are going to happen, right? And we're going to have to see what that means for us and then act accordingly. Okay, I think I went backwards. Did I? No, I didn't. Oh, good. So astrologically, if we take what we're seeing via these numbers, the 3, we have Baina associated with the planet Saturn. Saturn is moving into Pisces on the 3rd. Actually, that's the wrong day. It's not the 3rd. It is the 7th, I believe. Yeah, Saturn is moving into Pisces on the 7th. And so the vibration for that day, 3 and 7 is 10, and 7 is 17-8. So it's a star card if you're keeping track. So just ignore that March 3rd thing. It was last in Pisces 1993 to 1996. So it's been 30 years, right? And before that, 1964 to 1967. So for those of you born in 93 to 96, you're having your first Saturn return. Congratulations. You're a grown-up. Woo! And for those born from 64 to 67, you're having your second Saturn return. Congratulations. You don't have to be a grown-up. No, just kidding. The second Saturn return is usually associated with your spiritual growth. So yay, here we go. 7, Netzach, victory is associated with the planet Venus. Venus is in Aries from March 1st to the 15th, and in Taurus, a sign of its rulership, so it's more powerful in Taurus and more comfortable, from March 16th to March 31st. And we can see I put the 2 signs here. Venus, Malkuth, the kingdom, is associated with the earth. The earth. The Earth is always the polarity to the sun sign. So the Earth is in Virgo from March 1st to the 19th, and then from Libra, the 20th to the 31st. So on Earth, we should be working on healing and getting along during this period. Things that make you go, All right, so let's take a look at the first 2 weeks of, or at least till the 11th of March. And I wrote here, change is here, guys, change is here. So the first week of March, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 things happening that are worth talking about. And they all happen to happen on the 2nd of March. On the 2nd of March. The first thing is, did I say 4 things? I guess it's 3 things. Venus makes a conjunction to Jupiter at 13 degrees of Aries. This is the start of the Jupiter-Venus synod. That's about a year-long cycle when it takes Venus to move from conjunction to Jupiter to her next conjunction with Jupiter. Her next conjunction with Jupiter is going to be in Taurus. So that Venus-Taurus conjunction in Jupiter next year is going to be pretty potent because Venus is in a sign of her rulership. Right now, though, she's in the sign of Aries, which is her detriment, actually. But that's for those people who think that women shouldn't be, I don't know, forward and aggressive. Silly. So this conjunction happens at 13 degrees of Aries. It is the synod that is the expansion of our values, right? We learn something new. We learn we have new values. We learn what we value now, right? It's a learning experience. When we deal with Jupiter, it's always a learning experience. It's a learning experience based on expansion, as opposed to Saturn, which is a learning experience based on contraction. But we'll have both experiences this month. Mercury, on the same day, we have Mercury conjunct Saturn. Now that's a whole different vibe, right? We have Venus and Jupiter, the greater benefic and the lesser benefic in Aries, which is kind of a, it kind of means a newness, right? But, not a lot of experience, but seeking out experience. So there'll be a lot of experience seeking over the next year through this cycle of Jupiter and Venus. But then we have Saturn and Mercury. Now, Saturn and Mercury worked well together. They're both sort of mentally oriented. They both like water. They both like lines. They both like parameters. And so this conjunction occurs at, of all places, the last degree of Capricorn. Saturn in, no, it's the 30 degrees of Aquarius. Excuse me, it's not Capricorn. I have to check my notes. Mercury conjunct Saturn at 30 degrees of Aquarius, the last degree of Aquarius, because Saturn is going to move into Pisces, but not before Mercury does, because Mercury moves faster than Saturn. So Saturn and Mercury get together at that last degree of Aquarius. They have a meetup, and then they both move into Pisces. So let's take a look at these charts here. So Venus conjunct Jupiter at 13 degrees of Aries, right? This is happening on the 2nd. That vibration of that day is a 12-3. That is the Hanged Man. The Sabian symbol for 13 of Aries, an unexploded bomb, reveals an unsuccessful social protest. This is very interesting because during January 6th, we had the insurrection, but there was also bombs. One located by the Democratic National Committee, maybe, and one, I think, maybe by I think there were 2, equal opportunity anarchists, I guess. The Democrats and then the Republican close by their headquarters in Washington. But they were found and they were disarmed and nobody was hurt, luckily. But it was an unexploded bomb that was found. So we may hear something about that. the immature evaluation of the possibility of transforming suddenly the status quo. That could also apply to Trump and the January 6th insurrection, right? The symbol pictures the result of a particular attempt to resolve the conflict between two concept feelings of order. Resolution by violence fails because the ego power at this stage of the process of individuation is far too strong. The state thwarts attempts at popular revolution because these are premature expressions of a consciousness which is not free, but can only react wildly to constraint and to a central ruling power. It is thus a symbol of immature refusal to conform in the name of an over-idealistic desire for harmony and peace, or what they define as harmony and peace, right? The key word here is a negative attempt to reconcile the spiritual ideal and the very earthly reality, denying the validity of the latter. It suggests adolescent frustration. So we may see some adolescent frustration being expressed by people who are a little bit older than adolescent, perhaps. So this Venus-Jupiter conjunction is also closely conjoined Chiron at 14 degrees of Aries. Now we are going to have the Jupiter-Chiron conjunction, and that occurs at 14, it actually occurs at 15 degrees of Aries. And so this is the wrong Sabian symbol, but we can, in fact, do I have the book? I'll read it right here. I have to double check my stuff here. I'm making all kinds of mistakes, but at least I'm correcting them. Because you might not know that I'm making a mistake, but I know, so I have to correct it. Okay, 15, this occurs at 15 degrees of Aries. Says an Indian weaving a ceremonial blanket, projecting into everyday living the realization of wholeness and fulfillment. We are told that the fulfillment of desire is a possibility at whatever level and however incomplete a manner it may be experienced. So they're talking about fulfillment of desire here. Fulfillment of desire. We also have this on the same day conjunction between Saturn and Mercury at 30 degrees of Aquarius. Deeply rooted in the past of a very ancient culture, a spiritual brotherhood in which many individual minds are merged into the glowing light of a unanimous consciousness is revealed to one who has emerged successfully from his metamorphosis. The ability for a person with an open mind and a deep feeling for self-transcendence to come into contact with higher forms of existence. Conscious totality of being. Conscious totality of being. That is the potential of this conjunction of Saturn and Mercury at that 30 degrees of Aquarius. And we can see it here, 29, 24 of Aquarius. We round it up to 30. And soon Mercury is going to move into Pisces, and then Saturn follows right behind Mercury. I'm just looking at this chart to see what we have here. There's actually looks like there's a semi square between Mercury and Saturn and Jupiter, Venus, and Chiron. For Saturn and Jupiter, this is the first sort of major aspect that's occurred since their conjunction at the end of 2020 at 1 degree of Aquarius. So this is pretty interesting, that this Saturn Jupiter semi-square is happening at the last degree of Aquarius now, and going into Aries here with Venus, the feminine, and Chiron, the healing. So this is an indication of the necessity of a healing of both the feminine and the masculine. Very interesting. And of course, we have Mercury ingressing into Pisces shortly after it makes its conjunction, right? The Sabian symbol for Pisces: in a crowded marketplace, farmers and middlemen display a great variety of products. The process of commingling and interchange, which at all levels demonstrates the health of a community. How healthy is your community depends on how well you guys get along, and if you have a common goal. If you have a common goal, we look around and see where your community stands. The ruler of Pisces, Neptune, is at 25 degrees of Pisces. This is an interesting symbol because it comes up again and again. A religious organization succeeds in overcoming the corrupting influence of perverted practices and materialized ideals. And we also look at Jupiter, which is also the ruling planet of Pisces, classically. And we have the unexploded bomb reveals unsuccessful social protest, right? The same symbol as we had before. So we can see that certain things perhaps are not coming to fruition because it's too soon, or the people involved are too immature to make a good decision about what really needs to change. And also an organization trying to clean up their act. We'll see how they do. Here is Mem. This is the Hebrew letter associated with this path, the 12-3. This is the symbol for water. Mayim, actually, that's how you say it. And of course, this Mercury is still conjunct Saturn as it moves into Pisces. Still semi-square Jupiter, Venus, and Chiron, and trine the south node. So we're informed by the past here. And of course, Pisces being the last sign of the zodiac, and now soon Saturn to move into that last sign, there are some things that we need to wrap up, as it were. Wrap up things from the past. All right. So let's look at the second week of March. We'll start with March 6th, which is a Monday, vibrates to a 16-7 vibration, which is the Tower card. And on that day, we have Uranus making a sextile to the Sun. Uranus in Taurus, the Sun in Pisces. This is a waning sextile, meaning that this is an opportunity for us to learn from each other, to move in the direction of a more equitable future. Revolutionary, I know. The other thing that's interesting is on this day, we actually have the third hit of the Mars return of the United States. The United States actually had 3 Mars returns this year because the United States, the Sibley chart at least, has Mars in Gemini, and we had a Mars Gemini retrograde cycle. And so we had 3 hits. We had one in, I think, October, one in November, and now this last one in March. On Tuesday, the 7th, we have a full moon in Virgo. Full moons bring awareness, and it's bringing awareness along the Virgo-Pisces axis. The Virgo-Pisces axis is the axis of healing. What needs to be healed? And then Saturn goes into Pisces and says, all right, let's get to work and heal it. On that day, it vibrates to a 17-8, which is the star card, right? Your guiding star, finding your inspiration by looking to the heavens. It's the card of meditation. One wonderful way to spend this full moon is in meditation. On the 11th, Saturday, we have Venus making a waning sextile to Mars. Venus and Mars have been in a dance. We'll talk about it when we get to it. And this is the waning sextile. So this is the sextile that has the energy of Aquarius, new ways of relating to each other as human beings. And on the same day, we have Mercury making a waning sextile to Uranus. Mercury and Uranus have a special relationship because Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury. And these waning sextiles have the energy of Aquarius. So we have this, we're sort of doubling down on this Aquarius energy, which has to do with humanitarianism. And certainly the Ukrainian war, and all the wars and all the aid that needs to get to these people. We're seeing it more and more and more. Yeah, so all right, so here we have the opportunity for progressive change. The opportunity for progressive change with Uranus and the sun in this waning sextile, meaning that the sun is moving close, the sun moves faster than Uranus. We make Uranus be the point, that the sort of reference point, and then we see where's the sun in the cycle. Well, the sun sextile would either be in Pisces, or it actually could be in Cancer, right? Could be in Cancer. If it was in Cancer, it would be a Gemini side sextile, but because it's in Pisces, the sun has gone all the way around. So that's a lot of experience, right? And now we have this opportunity to share what we know. What has our experience shown us? What do we need to change? What's our changing relationship to the earth? An opportunity for progressive change, sharing your knowledge for the benefit of the collective, building the future on new ideas born of experience. What was that experience? The experience of the sun going through the zodiac from its conjunction, from its original conjunction, which occurred incidentally on 5/5/2022, which was a 16/7 vibration. So this sextile happens on a 16/7 vibration. The actual initial conjunction occurred on a 16/7 vibration, and it was the 5/5 portal. Change. 5 is change. 5/5 is change. Change. Anyway, at 15 degrees of Taurus, a head covered with a rakish silk hat, muffled against the cold, a man braves the storm. We have braved the storm, folks. The courage needed to meet the crises precipitated by social ambition. Well, doesn't that sound familiar? What the key word here, what is revealed here is character under adverse circumstances. So you're going to get to see people's character as they undergo adverse circumstances. Incidentally, the 16/7 is the soul vibration of Donald Trump. And I believe the expression vibration of Giuliani, but I'm not positive 100% on that. So this is the full moon chart in Virgo. We have the moon at 17 degrees of Virgo, the Sabian symbol, a volcanic eruption. Not another one. The explosive energy of long repressed contents of the subconscious. We are dealing here with the dramatic release of energies which have been kept in check by the outer shell of the ego, controlled consciousness. It may be a spectacular catharsis, but it often takes the paths of destruction. Yet unless some form of purification by fire is experienced, the inner pressure of the karmic past of more recent frustrations would shake up perhaps even more destructively the very foundation of the personality. Keyword here is explosion. Explosion. The sun, the other half of this full moon, right, is at 17 degrees of Pisces, an Easter parade. Well, that's different than a volcanic eruption. The capacity inherent in all great socio-cultural images to unite the members of a community in a display of excellence. It is a time for conformity to what constitutes the highest ideals of one's culture and for participation in collective peak experiences. So there's this sense of the best and the worst being expressed. Now, I want to point out that this full moon isn't just a full moon. We have a conjunction of the sun to Mercury on one side of the sun. We have Mercury making, would we call it a conjunction? No, not quite a conjunction to Neptune. But very powerfully, we have Mars making a square to this. Mars making a square. Mars is squaring the moon. This is a crescent side first quarter square. There's this energy to want to break free, but maybe not feeling emotionally secure enough to do it. And then we have the sun square Mars here. And this is actually moving towards a last quarter crisis in consciousness square between the sun and Mars, a crisis of consciousness about how to act. So we'll see what comes of this, right? When we see now, wherever you have Pisces and Virgo in your chart at 16, 17 degrees of these signs, this is where the full moon illuminates something. So you have to know where things fall, what houses and the like. You find that out through, getting an astrological chart. You can get one from astro.com, or you can have a reading and have an astrologer like tell you what the chart means, which is, usually, better. But, if you're learning, this is how you learn. You learn with your own chart first. All right. Now, we're going to talk about the fish in the room. At least this week, because there's another fish, maybe a whale, in another room further down the weeks, but we'll talk about this one first. This is Saturn's ingress into Pisces. Remember, it hasn't been there since 1993, 94, 95, 96. I think 94 to 96. So Saturn in Pisces, Saturn is in Pisces from March 7th, 2023, till May 26th, 2025, when it goes into Aries for a couple of months. September 2nd, it moves back into Pisces and is there until February 14th of 2026. So Valentine's Day, Saturn moves out of Pisces and moves into Aries and starts a whole new tropical zodiacal journey. So what do we see here? First of all, the day is a 17-8 vibration. That is the star card. The Hebrew letter is Zadi, which means fish hook. That's why we have fishes and hooks. And it's about, casting your line into the great cosmic sea to have information come in through meditation. So one of the great ways to spend this day is in meditation. Okay, so let's just take a look here. We can see that Saturn is trine the south node, sextile the north node. It's a little wide, but I would consider it sextiling the north node. So there's information from the past. There is some opportunity in the future here. Let's see. I think that's really all that's aspecting it. That's interesting. So the south node is the only thing really aspecting this move into Pisces. But Pisces would be a review of the past. It would be a review of the past, what has worked and what hasn't worked. And because it's Pisces, and Pisces is often associated with our own undoing, that needs to be looked at. Plus, with Saturn and Pisces, we really have to look at the issues of addiction, especially the opioid stuff, because that's very Piscean. All that opioid stuff is Piscean. All right, so we have a waning sextile here. This is occurring on the 11th as well, right? Venus waning sextile Mars. Venus and Mars have been in this dance since this synod, actually, and it began in 2022. Now it is a waning sextile, and I believe, if I'm correct, let me check. The next conjunction, I want to see the next conjunction of Venus and Mars, because I believe it happens after Venus goes retrograde. Let me see here. Here's Mars. Okay. Mars in Leo. Mars in Leo. Where's Venus? Venus is in Cancer. They're getting close. Oh, we're getting close, but I don't think no cigar. I don't think. Yeah, so Mars and Venus don't make a conjunction until after Venus is out of retrograde. Venus is going to be retrograde in Leo. So even though this is the 300-degree point of the synodic cycle, the next 30 degrees are going to take a really long time because Venus is rethinking things, reevaluating things, okay? This waning sextile is the point of the synodic cycle where we can utilize the knowledge of experience to plan for a more equal and progressive future. These are the planets connected to relationship, so it may be time to plan for a better future when it comes to relating. This synod began with 2 conjunctions of Venus and Mars. The first one occurred on 2/16/2022. That was a 24/6 vibration, the Queen of Wands, at 17 degrees of Capricorn, one of my favorite degrees of Capricorn. The Sabian symbol, a repressed woman finds psychological release in nudism, the release from inhibitions. And then the second one, okay, Venus and Mars conjoined in Capricorn, and then the next conjunction occurred at 0, that's 0 degrees, 1 minute of Aquarius, just into by a hair into Aquarius, right? Remember I said that first degree of Aquarius has been getting hit. This is one of the things that hit it, was this conjunction between Venus and Mars. But the interesting thing is the first conjunction happened in Capricorn, second one right at the beginning of Aquarius. There was something in between there, and that something was Pluto. So each one of those, both Mars and Venus, had to go past Pluto in order to meet again in Aquarius. The difference was that at that time, Venus was retrograde, had a retrograde cycle. So she actually made 3 conjunctions to Pluto, to Mars's 1 conjunction to Pluto. So she had already had 2 meetups with Pluto before she moved on, conjunct Mars, and then each one of them had to go over Pluto again and make another conjunction on the other side. So I just find that to be, I know, maybe it's just me finding that fascinating, but I just find that fascinating, as if you have to go through the gates of hell. You have to go through the gates of hell. The second conjunction occurred at 1:00:01 of Aquarius, an old Adobe mission in California, the power inherent in all great human works to endure far beyond the worker's lifespan. Concretization of an ideal. First degree of Aquarius. What's the ideal? Humanity. Interestingly enough, this happens on the 11th under the vibration of a 21/3, which is a vibration of manifestation. And it's also a vibration of one cycle ending and a new one beginning. All right, well, that is what's going on. We do have some stuff coming up. On the 3rd week, we have Jupiter conjunct Chiron. We have Mars making a last quarter square to Neptune. This is the 3rd last quarter square it's made to Neptune. It's also connected to the Mars in the US, because very close to the US Mars. We have the Sun and Mercury conjuncting Neptune at the same degree of Pisces. We have the Sun and Mars making a last quarter square. That's a crisis in consciousness. Venus, on the other hand, is making a first quarter square. That's a crisis in action in that third week. And then Venus ingresses into Taurus, which of course she loves because she's ruled by Taurus. Friday, we have Mercury making a last quarter square to Mars. And let's see, Venus. Okay, sextiles and conjunctions. So that's what's ahead. Let me get out of this here. How do I get out of this? Oh yes, that's how I do it. All right, well, that's what's happening, guys. It is going to be a big change. Now, I haven't mentioned it because it happens later in the month, but we do have Pluto moving into Aquarius. I can't not mention that because that would be nuts. Pluto hasn't been in Aquarius for 248 years. So no modern, nothing modern, revolutionary times. And we'll have revolutionary times again. Hopefully this time we do a little better job of it and actually have equality mean something. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Please like and subscribe. If you would like to join my Kabbalah class, I'm starting an introduction to the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life. It's the first step in a number of steps that you can take with me to learn about the Kabbalah, learn how to work with it, learn how to work with the Tree of Life. It's the basic building blocks. It's basic, but it's complex. And the Kabbalah, the Tree of Life, is sort of like a marriage. It's a relationship that you have with the tree. The more you interact with the people you're in relationship with, the more you learn, the more you're challenged, and the more you can get out of it. And if you want to take that first step with me, you can. It's starting Monday the 6th, from the 6th to the 10th of April. It's gonna occur on consecutive Mondays from 7 to 9 Eastern. If you can't attend in person, you get the class anyway. So you get all the information. You just maybe can't ask a question in class. But if you have a question, say you want to take the class and you have a question that's not getting answered in the class, you can always email me and I will answer it in the class, and then you'll have your question answered. But yeah, I'm real excited about this, and I hope you join me. I've tried to keep it relatively reasonable, so more people can get a taste of this. And there is a link below, or if you want to just go to my website, thesiegeoftransformation.com, go to the events page, you can register there. And I look forward to seeing you there or seeing you where else I see you here on my channel. Thank you very much, everyone. Much love to you all. We're going to make it through this. I'm going to hold your hand. Shit, I'm going to hold my own hand. Oh, did I say the S word? It happens. Okay, guys, take care. I love you. I love you, love you, love you. Namaste. Take care of yourselves. Be careful. Be love. Be the change you want to see.